Thank you for tuning in for episode 2 of the People of Faith podcast. I'm Grayson Reams. Last episode, we talked a lot to AJ Mealing about college sports, the state of Christianity, all that kind of stuff. So thank you for real for tuning back in. I promised you guys last time that I had an announcement to make on this next podcast. So here it is. We'll be releasing a new shirt. Pre-orders will be starting this Thursday. I can't quite remember the date, but it's coming up. You'll see it probably 2 days after the release of this podcast. So here it is. This is what's going to be known as our selfie shirt. It's the whole idea of this T-shirt. So when you're wearing it out in public and around, when somebody's looking at it, it'll actually be mirrored backwards. But if you take a selfie on Snapchat or on your phone camera, anything like that, you'll be able to read it as forgiven. It's supposed to be something that just kind of has the idea of being forgiven is something between you and God, and you can see it when people read it from the outside. They're not quite sure what it says, but once you use the camera to reflect it, you'll be able to tell. Thank you guys for all the support thus far. We've got a lot of new stuff coming. This podcast, this episode 2 with Ben Wolverton, is awesome. We just finished filming it, and we talk about some really cool stuff. He talks about his experiences as a Christian artist, music artist, and his experiences as a kid going overseas to do mission in Europe. So this one has no shortage. We go for about 45 minutes, so it goes fast, but it's got no shortage of good content. So thank you guys again, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you for coming back to the People of Faith podcast. This is episode 2. I'm Grayson Reams, and today we've got an awesome guest, a guy I grew up with, family friends, and I've just seen him grow and have an amazing career, so to speak, and he's done a ton of different things within his faith, and like he has focused and all the things that he loves to do, he's brought it all together, and he's just an awesome dude. So let me introduce you to Ben Wolverton. Ben, what's up, dude?
My God, that was so sweet. You'll make me cry from second one, you know?
off the bat. So, we met. I mean, I can't put a finger on when we met because we just kind of grew up together. Our parents were friends.
I do not know a day that y'all have just always been in my memory.
Yeah, exactly. The Reams and the Wolvertons were always close families together. I remember, dude, when we were it was either before elementary school or during elementary school, like in the summers, we would, our moms would trade off who got to keep the kids, per week. And we would either come over to y'all's house or y'all would come over to our house.
Yep.
I've got some fond memories and some funny memories of those days.
Dude, it's hilarious. We would be playing Star Wars in the backyard. We'd be doing everything.
Oh, yeah. Just everything you can think of. So, Ben, you've had a crazy journey. I say that, and I know you've got a ton of stories. I really just want to, dude, I want to see you talk and tell your story from beginning where, your whole family, dude, I remember it really vividly, actually. Your whole family picked up when you were how old and just moved to the Netherlands as a mission. One of the coolest things I've ever heard.
It's wild. So I had just finished third grade. So it was in that third grade year. So little Ben, and I have 3 siblings and they're all younger than me. And we found out my parents, we wanted to move overseas to the Netherlands. And my dad did student ministry at the time. And he was going to go over there and we were going to go over there and kind of help churches figure out how to start student ministries. Because a lot of churches in Europe didn't really know how to do that and didn't really have some of those resources. So he was going to go over there and do that. And because obviously the family unit, that meant us little kids were also going too. So in the beginning, when we found out, me, little Ben, I was the only mission stories I know are horrifying, terrible, scary, and so we freaked out. We're like, what? Everything kind of got pulled from us. But in that process, you really realize that, your family and God are really all you have, and you're all you're gonna ever have. And God is really the only constant in every situation. Because even though family is amazing, family is also earthen as well. And it gives us a great
Yeah.
picture of what, heaven's gonna look like. It's gonna be an awesome party. But yeah, definitely realized that. And so we tooled on over when I was so finished third grade, and we lived in the Netherlands, about 30 minutes north of Amsterdam. And we were there for about 4 years, I want to say, until my eighth grade year, around that time. And yeah, just a crazy life um, thing to kind of go through and walk through. And you show up to school the first day, you used to know everyone, and now you don't know everyone, and you don't even know the language that they're all speaking. So you're just like, I feel like naked and afraid. Like that's like
Yeah.
the only picture to kind of describe it. So it was pretty crazy.
That is
And
crazy.
leaving y'all, obviously, like the Reams squad, like that was so sad for us.
Yeah, man. What you said, like, I can imagine, like, we moved schools, and this is a bad
Hmm.
comparison. We moved schools when we were like,
Hey, it works.
I was going into second grade. And it was like, yeah, I
Hmm.
didn't know anybody. I cannot imagine moving schools and not speaking the same language as the people that I'm trying to become friends with. I like,
Yeah, it was wild.
yeah, what language did you guys have to learn? And was it like easy? I know it's kind of off topic, but that
Yeah,
just
no, I
interests me.
love it. So they speak Dutch over there, which we laugh at because, we're like, mom and dad, like, we could have moved to the most beautiful languages in the world, like French, Italian, like even Swedish, like, and we moved to the guttural, like, everything is harsh and, it's all sounds like you're trying to cough, it's like, who had it? You're like, that's not pretty. I had to learn Dutch and then German later on, because the way they kind of do schooling stuff, your second language, you actually take classes in your second language. Um, so yeah, that was the language we had to learn. And again, like you pick it up super fast as a kid, but it's still just so foreign, and like everything, including the way you communicate, has been
Oh yeah.
stripped away from you. So you
Yeah.
kind of have to realize like who you are and who other people are, and like how to not mean things that you don't want to say. Like, it's that whole comfort of our lives that kind of you realize is really temporary.
Yeah, I can imagine like sarcasm and that kind of stuff does not translate when you're just learning it. I can't
Yeah, no, you're like, I did not mean to say that. That is
imagine.
that is not what I meant to say.
That's
You're
awesome.
like, oh man. Yeah.
So something we talked about a little bit before we started filming right here.
Hmm.
I feel like now I'm at Erskine College, which is in Due West, South Carolina, like middle of
Hmm.
nowhere. Um,
I
but
love it, dude.
at Erskine, our college is actually about 75% athletes. So we've got guys
Okay.
on the men's soccer team that I'm close with that they came in,
Hmm.
and it's like a whole different world over there. When I've talked to them and I've gotten close with them,
Yeah.
what does Christianity look like overseas? Because I feel like as Americans in the United
Hmm.
States, we're we're almost spoiled. Like, even though I feel like it's kind of
Yeah.
moving in a different direction, we still like one nation under God. What does it look like over
Hmm.
there?
Yeah, so it's very different. We'll start with that. So obviously, like the whole government and religion thing, you don't
Mhm.
really get over there. And Christianity, like the history of Christianity, especially where we were in Europe, like there was a very hard heart from the people, and very rightly so, because there had been some wrongs and
Right,
places where
right.
the church had really hurt some people. And like, you're talking 2000 years easy of history and wars. And like, I mean, Christopher Columbus like left
Yeah,
because of all of that. And so like you have all this history there, and like different like ways that Christianity had been used to promote normal people's power and stuff like that, all the world wars. So it all made sense why there was this aversion and hardness towards Christianity. um, but it was sad because people are sinful, and the church is full of sinful people, and it's because of those reasons that
Yeah.
that the
Yeah.
church's witness had kind of been hurt. And it always reminded me of, in the New Testament, it says like our greatest witness to the world would be our love for one another. And so whenever that
Wow.
kind of breaks down and when that fails, like the church's witness does too. So
Yeah.
so there had been some aversion towards the church and some hardness because, yeah, I don't blame them, and rightly so. And I've never had to walk through what they have, and but it is a very crazy kind of place to be in, because you really do see what like society and the world kind of looks like without that
Mm.
foundation of the gospel. And I can hardly do life as it is with a relationship with Christ and walking with him. And especially
Yeah.
with everything that's going on right now, you're just like, man, Lord, what is going on? What is happening? And there are super hard days, and being in a place that is void of the gospel, you realize even more so, like, Lord, like this breaks my heart, because these people, like, they don't even like have this relationship with you. Like, how are they supposed to do life? Like, I cannot imagine doing life, just regular normal life, like without walking with Christ. And so it's a very like it's very humbling, and it's also like it hurts a little bit, because you want that for these people that you love, like our friends, like, I mean,
Yeah.
they're family pretty much over there. And so yeah, it's a very different place, and it's a very different situation where it's not integrated into the kind of cultural fabric.
Yeah. I mean, I think you hit on so many really cool things there. Man, like I can't even wrap my head around, like you said, I can't wrap my head around like a life without Christ. And a
I
personal
know.
relationship. Like me and you, both our families, we were raised, our parents were in the church. I grew
Yeah.
up at
Yep.
Brookwood. I've been there ever since. And like you
Yeah. That's
guys,
where we met,
exactly.
apparently.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think I've my dad's told stories about like my dad and your dad playing for the youth group, playing music and like
Hmm.
playing songs like "With or Without You" by U2 and changing it to a Christian song so it's more
Nice.
fun. And like
Yeah.
those kind of things stick with me. But like you said,
Yeah.
overseas, that void of Christianity and the hurt that the people said, you said it like hard in their heart.
Hmm.
That's almost scary to me. Like especially that, like you said,
Yeah.
2,000 years of wars and all that kind of stuff. You can't help but think, hopefully it doesn't wash over to where we are right now, and especially the time that we're in. I
I
mean,
know.
it's just it's such a wild thought. Um,
Hmm.
I envy you, and I don't want that experience at all of going overseas and seeing that side of the story. Because it seems so,
Yeah.
like you said, it seems so foreign and it seems so like
Hmm.
humbling, but it's also really scary, dude. Just from, I mean,
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
just hearing you say it.
I just, yeah, I describe it to people, because everyone in the beginning, they're like, oh, that's amazing. Like that you had this experience as a kid, and like you got to travel around and do that thing. And like, it was amazing, but it was also the most hard time of my life, I think, ever.
Yeah,
Like being like kind of like not like stomped on, but like shaped like metal. Like you kind of get pounded a little bit and shaped into who you were going to be from an early age, because you kind of had to know like who you were to establish that. And it was so hard, but it really does help me think about the outsider and think from that perspective. And even in today, as I kind of do life, like, you know, because I've had this experience, I can now think from that person who is new, who is walking in the door for the first time, the refugee, the person who doesn't know the language,
yeah,
and kind of realize like how to kind of be there for that person, because I was that person to some regard.
yeah. And that is such a cool perspective. And the first thing that comes to my mind, like obviously not as big of stakes, but I mean, dude, I'm over FCA at Erskine, and I've got an awesome leadership team that
Hmm.
we all put on events, all that kind of stuff, bring in speakers. But we've talked about actually with AJ Mealing, who was the guy on the first episode of the podcast. We talked
Yeah.
about how hard it is to minister to athletes. Where like I'm an athlete, AJ was an athlete,
Hmm.
but we were at the school for different reasons than regular athletes are. Like
Right.
ministering to
Right.
somebody at a Christian school, that didn't come there because it was a Christian school is so hard, and you got to be so creative. And I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like obviously not, like I said, not as big of a stake, but that's such
Mhm.
a cool way to look at it.
Yeah, it's awesome. And like realizing like it's humbling to realize that you're kind of in this spot where you have that opportunity. And again, like that whole like in my it's just on my brain just because of everything going on. Like our greatest witness to the world will be our love for one another. And it's
Yeah.
like in ministering to people and trying to point to the gospel, as the world feels like it's crumbling, like whether it's small or large situations, like how do we point people towards the gospel? It's like it's still our love for one another because everything else can fall away. And if we are loving our brothers and sisters like we're called to, like that is the greatest picture of the gospel for everyone to see. And that's our greatest witness. And that's how people say, hey, this is clearly different than what I'm doing and what my friends are doing or how I've been raised or what my family looks like. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that and something greater than what I can do on my own.
Yeah.
That's a cool spot to be in.
Yeah. My mom has said it over just this time. It's kind of come to the forefront, and she said it a ton. Any tribe, any nation. I don't know if I said that
Hmm.
the right way, but you get the gist of it. So moving on, you got back. You said you came back to the
Yeah.
States around eighth grade. Um, so what did that look like? You got your whole high school career
Yeah.
ahead of you, and then you ended up going to USC. Just paint that picture
Hmm.
for us a little bit on where you
Yeah.
went from there.
So came back in eighth grade, and that was as almost as equal as a culture shock
Hmm.
to come back, and everyone is like, professing Christianity, like especially at that point in life. Like we came back to Columbia, South Carolina, so you're pretty Bible Belt, and
Yeah.
everyone at that point is still kind of at least talking about it and talking about Christianity because they've kind of been raised in that bubble, and so that was a culture shock to kind of come back to Western life in America and just what that looked like. And again, kind of was this reshaping of, okay, I say these things and I got to make sure that I follow through on them because
Yeah.
some people they don't, they say that they believe and, act a little different. So even more of a reshaping thing. And um, so went to high school in Columbia and or Irmo area. And so did that and then knew that I wanted to kind of do ministry with what I was going to do later on. I, as you said, seen my parents do it and seen so
Hmm.
many friends in ministry, and we had been in ministry for what felt like my whole life, and seen the
Yeah.
good, seen the bad, and realized like I wanted to still be a part of that and what God was doing. So did high school, knew that that was kind of on the forefront, and didn't really know what college looked like and what I was going to major in, and because I it felt like a means to an end in some degree. And so figured out like, I'll just do business because that's agreeable and like whatever. And so,
Yeah.
um, but in that kind of realized um, that my role in not knowing what my future looked like was still to prepare for whatever God had for me in my future. And there's a verse in Joshua right
Yeah.
before they're about to cross the river, and chapter 3, it says, consecrate yourselves, which means ready yourselves, prepare yourselves for tomorrow, for the Lord will do amazing things among you. And what I loved about that is
Wow.
it gave no detail what the amazing thing was going to be. It just said tomorrow, and there's no other real detail other than like it is now your role to prepare yourself for what God's going to do.
Yeah.
And
Gotta have
so
faith.
exactly. And so I never wanted to be complacent in how I structured my life, so that um, I wanted God to be able to use me in any way. So I went to USC to do business, and kind of even that was crazy because I had grown up a Clemson fan my whole life. Like, I mean, this more than anyone, and
Oh
that
yeah.
was just kind of a shift in, yeah, just kind of a radical thing at the time. And so did that, loved it. Graduated in 2018, and then kind of college was just a crazy, again, time of reshaping and like a
Mhm.
season that I'm sure you're well aware of right now.
Yep, I'm about to
Um,
get out of it.
dude, praises. It's good for a period, and then it's time. So
100%.
yeah, and that was a just another crazy, like, just God continuing to open the next door, but again, those details being like, all right, Lord, like, I love kind of this marketing stuff. I love creative stuff,
Mhm.
and just not sure what um, like you have for me in the long run. But again, I want to prepare for whatever that is, and so um, kind of followed through on some things, and then ended up actually right after college started. I mean, college finished, going to seminary, um, and which was a crazy thing because I really don't love school. But you're like, again, this door is opened up, and
Yeah.
I don't want to be complacent in wherever God has me in the future. And so, yeah, crazy, crazy little thing to add on.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go back to something you said because I find myself in
Yeah, do
that
it.
spot as a ton of people do my age, where you
Hmm.
don't really know what you're gonna do next. Like this summer for me,
Yeah.
coming up to my senior year of college, it's shaped both what I feel like my future is gonna be and the things that I'm
Hmm.
interested in. Like we
Yeah.
haven't talked in a little bit, probably since Anna's wedding. Actually, I think that was the last
Yeah.
time. But
Hmm.
like I always thought I was gonna do like youth sports. Like I love sports. I
Hmm.
love basketball. I grew up playing every sport like you could think of, out in the front yard or in the cul-de-sac or with you guys.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
every summer since I was probably a senior in high school, I've been the like camp director at Brookwood or camp counselor at the YMCA, and it was just it's natural for me.
Hmm.
But this summer, I really got into the like starting my own business, entrepreneur, all those kind of things to go along with ministry, and it's really
Yeah.
opened my eyes. But I like what you said, like they say that again, consecrate yourselves, or is that say that verse again?
Yeah. So it's Joshua 3:5, I believe, and it's consecrate yourselves for tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things among you.
Yeah, and
Um,
what you said was
which
like,
is just crazy.
yeah, what you said was like they don't he doesn't talk about what the amazing thing is. He just says there will be one, and it's all about having
Oh,
faith.
gives no detail.
Yeah, nothing whatsoever. And it's just like you got to have faith
Yeah.
that God will follow through, which he always does. Um and that's just I find myself in a position right now, not to get
Hmm.
too deep into detail, but where I might have to let some stuff go to fill another role that I think is becoming more important, whether that be ministry or just meeting more people and forming those
Yeah.
relationships. So yeah, I think that's
Hmm.
something that everybody goes through, especially around my age, 21, 22.
Hmm.
I think that's such a cool
Yeah.
point, though.
I don't think you ever stop going through it. I think
Yeah,
all of life you're just trying to figure out what you're supposed to be doing.
yeah. I mean, it's just you just continue to evolve and react. Um, so
Hmm.
after you get out of college, um, I remember like this pretty vividly too. You got into a band, right? Or you started a band with a couple other guys. Um,
Yes.
walk us through. I know that that
So,
wasn't a huge stepping stone, but or it might have been. I don't know,
hmm.
but I think that's just such a cool experience. Obviously, my dad was in a band coming out of college, so I've heard all those kind
Yeah.
of stories. I think you guys had a little bit of a different path, but break that down for us a little bit, and then going into being a
Yeah.
solo artist.
Um, so I didn't really mention this, but music had always kind of been this huge thing for my life. And like you
Hmm.
said, like our dads played music together in church. And like
Yeah,
from when I was little, I like started learning how to play piano. And then I saw School of Rock and I'm like, piano's not cool, Dad. I'm playing bass. So uh, slowly made my way, into different instruments, music, whatever. And so whenever I was in high school, I think it was the end of high school, some friends of mine, like we were just like, hey, like we love playing music together, let's do it. And we really enjoyed writing together. And so that was kind of the thing of like, we love playing other people's music, but we're like, we feel like we have some fun things too. And so started writing with them and did the band thing and played a good amount. And this was when I was still in high school. So
Oh, wow.
I was
Yeah.
still even like, am I supposed to do this like with my life? Like some doors were opening, some weren't, and like
Yeah.
there were some successes and some like flat tires, and I feel like that's just kind of music. But um, so I started to do that and realized that like I love to write music, and there's like this like passion and like this natural like just adrenaline that comes whenever like a song is getting written and like I'm a
Yeah.
part of it and it's finished, and like it's just the best feeling in the world. And so kind of realized that, and um yeah, I just started to write songs because I felt like it was a way of expressing my thoughts and my views on the world and God, and kind of how that made sense to me. I always like to say I'm like I can never really preach a sermon because I like to make big ideas like really small, like
Yeah.
3-minute pieces rather than like
Mm.
30-minute pieces.
Yeah.
So started writing music, did the band thing, and um, realized that I wanted music to be a part of my life, whether that be for fun, but I thought it would probably be more than that. So started leading worship in college, and had played in youth band in high school, and just fell in love with that. And just from that, also started writing my own music, and the process that goes through that is wildly crazy and fun and frustrating all at the same time. I'm sure it's kind of like a sport, but very different, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. But that whole
so
process is definitely,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's pretty, it's yeah, very very shaping. So did that, and then yeah, just like have been helping lead worship and playing for worship teams kind of ever since, and that's still a huge part of my life and what I love to do. Like it's just ingrained kind of.
Yeah. I'm gonna bring you back a little bit, and this is something
Yeah,
that's
do it. I just covered some ground there, so
yeah, yeah. Yeah. But I'm just gonna point out one that you might not even remember this. So after you guys came back and moved to Columbia, we wouldn't get to see you guys pretty much. Like we'd see you once a year. We'd come down to Columbia
yeah.
for New Year's and just hang out for like,
New Year's Eve, baby.
yeah, New Year's Eve and maybe the next day and then head back home.
Yeah.
Um, it was one of those years and you played a song that you had just written called Eden. And it like I don't know why it sticks with
Hmm.
me. It was such a cool song and the lyrics in it, I paid attention to them, and it's it's such a cool, like I can, all I'm saying is a cool song, but it's so much more than that. And I don't know what like you went through or you were thinking about when you were writing it, but it's a song I still have on my playlist every day. I played it like at FCA here at church during the summers. And I'd love for people to go check it out as a little bit of a plug for you. But was there anything in specific like going through that song, because it was just so powerful to me, like the line "Take me back to Eden," like
Hmm.
that's just, it's so cool.
Well, I appreciate it, man. That's very sweet. I wrote that song freshman year of college, and um, that was a time where like I feel like everyone goes through this, but it can be super lonely, and you're just trying to figure out like what life looks like, and
Yeah, yeah.
just there are some times where you're just like, God, I don't know what is going on,
Hmm.
and I had just finished reading this book series by an author called Ted Decker, and it's amazing, and it changed my life on how I view God and the whole spiritual world. Like they're unbelievable. It's kind of like Lord of the Rings, but not like it's great.
I
Plug
got you.
for that
I
too.
got
It's dope. But in this book series, the God character is like still with the people and does all these fun things. Like he'll turn gravity off in a second, and
you.
like they're kind of just floating there. Like he'll say, "Hey, watch this," and like kind of paints the sky the way he wants to. And it really like going through that book, like broke my heart because I had always had this view of my relationship with God, um, never really looking at God's desire of that relationship with us as people, and how we screwed that up, and like like he wanted a relationship with us. He was in the Garden of Eden with us, and we messed it up, and now he is separated from that, and I had never thought of just the potential of what life could have looked at if that didn't get messed up and God's relationship with us stayed the way it was, where he was in the garden with us. And so that really like it personalized God for me, and just realizing that like he wanted to have fun, like he wanted to like sit by the fire and like hang out and laugh, and we messed that up, and now he doesn't get that relationship that he wanted. And
Right.
so as I was just thinking through that, like I just started kind of singing like "Take Me Back to Eden," like is probably what like God is thinking, like in those moments of like, man, like, this was the perfect setup, and just wrote the song from God's perspective, which um I wanted to be careful about because it's always a little a little dicey, but really like digging in scripturally of what that meant. And yeah, just the whole idea of like like before we even knew who we were, like God wanted this relationship with us. And in the end of the song, it says, I'll take you back to Eden, and there will be a new earth. There will be a new creation where we will be right with God. And that's from only Christ's work on the cross. And so, yeah, it still sticks with me, and I still get kind of emotional thinking about it, because it is this sad thing, but joyous that one day it will be kind of reconciled.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even go back to summarize what you just said or break it down because it was so. I mean, I never thought about it that way. I didn't even know the song was written from God's perspective. So now I'm going to go back and listen to it, and it's going to be completely different. Um, it, golly, like I got to recoup after that one. That was such a cool explanation, and it's such a cool idea. Like that, yeah, we were the ones that messed it up. And I know we know that, but I don't know
Yeah.
if we take it to the length, which I mean, as people, as humans, you don't
Hmm.
want to blame yourself. Like it's inherent in us
Right.
that it's
And
hard to be humble.
yeah.
Yeah, and that I
Yeah. And
really
you
people
don't
should
want to
go and
like,
listen to it.
I don't want to be like super downcast on like humans, but like it more so just like, God had this fun relationship in mind when he created us, and that isn't happening, and that's sad. So
Yeah, I mean, we live in a broken world. And
yeah.
so to piggyback off of that, I'm gonna ask you a few
Hmm.
questions, and then we'll get you out of here. Um, so maybe a month ago, Anderson, you know where Anderson is. It's about 30 minutes
Yep.
north of where I'm at in
Hmm.
Due West. And Anderson University there, actually where Sully's at right now, my younger brother. But there was a guy that
Shout
I
out
kind of grew
Sully.
up with. Yeah. There's a guy that I kind of grew up with that's over BCM at Anderson, which is Baptist Collegiate Ministries. And
Hmm.
we went and had lunch one day right before we were going to go back to school, just catch up, kind of shoot the breeze type thing. And he made a comment, and he's going to see this probably again. I said it in the last video, and it was a big part of it. He made a comment to me after we talked about like FCA at Erskine and BCM at Anderson, and he made the comment that it's good, or he said something along the lines of it feels good to know that I have a brother fighting the fight 25, 30 minutes down the road. And it like I don't think he meant for it to have such an impact on me as it did, but like we're really at war, and it's really opened my eyes to like we're on a battlefield every single day. Even though we're not fighting,
Yeah.
we're fighting for souls, and we're fighting for people, like trying to build those relationships to
Hmm.
further the kingdom of God. I just want to get your opinion on that, and like how I know, especially overseas, and now like in everyday life, where do you see the war going? And like, have you ever looked at it from that perspective, that type of stuff? I know that was a lot.
Yeah. No, that's great, dude. It is so true. I think, and there's multiple battles going on, I think, in the greater war, if we want to use that language.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so like you have like what you said, like fighting for ground for lost people to be in relationship with Christ. Like it's the
Mhm.
verse that like they are like sheep stumbling to the slaughter, which is a brutal way of
Yeah.
looking at it, because it's not pretty. It's not like we always like say like, no, they're not saved, which is like a very neutral way of looking at it.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
Bible paints it as this like brutal, like they are like sheep stumbling to the slaughter. And that should produce an urgency in us to
Mhm.
go out and stop them from stumbling to that slaughter. Like that is our role. And so, um, and the Holy Spiritual, obviously, but like that's one battle, I think. And that's a huge battle. And it's overwhelming at times, especially in today's world where it's so clear. And then
Yeah.
like you also have like the fight within yourself, which is like, Lord, why do I do the things that I don't want to do? I love JD Greer. I think it's in his book Gospel, he paints this picture of like the Bible always calls our lives as a living sacrifice. And what's so cool about that picture is it's like you have to fight it staying on the altar. Like like us laying our lives down is daily, like trying to get it to stay. Like a living sacrifice is gonna want to run and get out of there. Like that's
Yeah.
not what it's made to do. And so there's a fight within us that even in this greater battle of like trying to win souls for Christ is like also, there's a fight within me to stick to my personal holiness, to stay in relationship with Christ and my community. And so with all those things going on, it's just like it is a battle, and it's something that you don't want to be caught on the defensive on, because it is very much an offensive only type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's so great to have that urgency, that picture of urgency.
Yeah. I mean, I almost equate it. There's a guy at school that's kind of my mentor, Josh Childs, and he's the
Hmm.
campus chaplain right now. Awesome guy. He equated it to like we're each a cup, and if I'm pouring into somebody all day, I'm eventually going to be empty. I've got to be poured into too, which
Yeah.
that's that whole idea of community that you were talking about. So
Hmm.
that's awesome. That's just something it's been on my mind for a while now,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to change the way that my personal ministry, and when I say ministry, I want to clarify that obviously there are ministries. FCA is a ministry, BCM is a
Yeah.
ministry, but I said it the other day. I can't remember who I was talking to, but the greatest ministry and the most powerful ministry in the world is your life. Like
Yes. 100%.
that is where you can affect the most people, and that is
Yeah.
what you're the most responsible for. Like, yeah, you can be over
Hmm.
these things and go to church, but your ministry is what really changes people's lives.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought that was a cool way. When Noah talked about it to me, I want to start spreading that and changing the way that I act and move
Hmm.
through my personal ministry. So the other
Yeah.
thing,
Because it like I was talking to my dad too. Like
yeah,
we're just talking about the world like right now, which is just obviously the topic
yeah,
to talk about. But
yeah,
like we're like, it doesn't get better from here. Like if you read
mm-mm,
Revelation and you read the Bible, like it's not this like uphill, like,
mm-mm,
oh, this is gonna be great, and it ends on like this super great high note of like
yeah,
encouragement. And like it doesn't get easier, and like that's the most opposite thing we're guaranteed. And like if that sense of urgency and that sense of fighting and that sense of um yeah, just pouring out like is not ingrained now, like it only gets like it doesn't get better, and not in like a sadistic way, but like
no, but
it's
that's
trials are
yeah,
guaranteed, like it's just
yeah,
the thing.
yeah. That's I mean that's real life. I mean in life everything's
Yeah.
hard, but especially being a Christian and like I mean that's what the next question I was going to ask you was about. Like, what do you think the direction we're going in is? And I think you answered it already. That obviously in Revelation, if you read through the book of Revelation, um, I mean, it's crazy and it's gruesome
Hmm.
at points. It is definitely scary for the future. But if you're so solid in your ground and the ground that you stand on, then you'll be fine. I mean, it's going to be hard. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that you'll be fine as you'll have an
Yeah.
easy road, but that ground that you stand on, that rock, if you stand on it in the right way and you stand on it with your soul and the way that you live and the way that you believe and the faith that you have, I mean, it's something that he's
Yeah.
told about from the beginning.
Yeah. It's like it's a guarantee that there are going to be trials. Like the verse of no weapon formed against you may prosper. It's
Yeah.
not if a weapon gets formed or when it's like that's the guarantee.
Yeah.
the weapon is formed. Like there's no condition there before that word. It is no weapon formed against you may prosper. So like we know that's just a never ending thing. And when I look at where the world is going to do, like I pray that everything going on awakens a new need solution that is outside of Christ. And like
Yeah.
that is very clear with everything that's going on. Like we have been working at this thing of society for 2000 years, modern society,
Mm-hmm.
America for a few hundred, and we clearly have not found some major solutions to major problems.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that doesn't matter who you are and what you believe. And so humans are incapable of doing that without Christ. And so I pray that this is somewhat of a catalyst and a jump start to realize like, hey, maybe we don't really know what's going on. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
we don't have all the answers, and that can be a humbling thing. Because I mean, like we were saying, like it doesn't like get
Yeah.
better, but I do pray that it is a way that people can look towards Christ and realize like there might be solutions outside their own tiny little brain.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
man. I mean, I think we could talk for hours on this just in particular, but
yes, we could.
yeah, I'm gonna let you go. Thank you so much for coming on, brother. I think
Dude,
this one's gonna be
thank you so much
awesome.
for having me.
Yeah, I think
This
this
was
one's gonna be
great.
awesome. I think people are gonna love this and
So
what we
fun
talked about, and
hanging
hopefully
out.
we open some eyes or get somebody, at least just one person, to think about something differently. So
Yes.
tell me or tell everybody where they can find you at on social media or on like Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff.
Yes. Yeah. So music wise, you can find me just Ben Wolverton on Spotify, Apple Music, all the fun stuff. Um, Personally, like socials, BTWOLV, BT Wolf. It's just the plug. That's all the socials. Stay updated, all that fun stuff. New music coming out.
Hey, man.
Not gonna say it's within a few weeks, but it may or may not be. We'll see.
Hey, there we go.
So it's
We'll be
fun.
on top of
It's
it.
exciting,
Yeah.
dude. Thank you for
Hey,
having me, man.
yeah. Thank you again, brother.
This is
It was fun
awesome.
catching up and just fun talking about all this stuff. We got to stay in touch. Obviously, get the families back together soon.
I know. Maybe
Yeah,
New
man.
Year's. Maybe this is our year again.
Hey, maybe so. All right, man. I love you. I will catch
See
you
you,
later.
bro.
Thank you again.
Love you, bro. Stay well.
Awesome.